Hi besties, I'm Mina, your bookish big sister. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about my latest 5-star read, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. So grab a blanket, get comfortable because we're about to talk about the coziest book you may ever read. Goodreads has a rating of, Fable has a rating of, and Amazon has a rating of. Because of that, I was not expecting it to be a 5-star read. I was expecting it to be maybe 3.5, maybe 4. I stumbled across it because I'd heard of it, but not realised it was this book because I had mostly seen the American cover. I think it's the American cover, I'm not sure. And this is the British cover, the cover that I have. I expected it to be a really cozy read. I was just looking for something that would be an easy, quick read, something I could get into but not have too high expectations, something I could just read and just enjoy for the vibes. I did not expect for me to be thinking about it this much nearly a week later. I have recommended it to at least 3 people. I've spoken about it to so many people. Every time I get an opportunity to tell someone what I've been up to recently, I say, I recently finished The Very Secret Society. I have a rule, a personal rule, that if I'm reading a book and I get to page 100, I have to get to page 100, and I'm still finding it an issue to want to pick it back up, I DNF it. I haven't found many books like that. Most of the books I start off, and especially because I mostly read romance, but I have a big variety of romances on my bookshelf, and because of that I have books that range from cheesy, books that range from cliche to sad, all of it. And because of that, I sometimes find like characters difficult to get along with, especially if I've read something that I enjoyed so much. There are a lot of characters in this book, I will admit. Our main character is Mika Moon. She's a witch who has to keep the fact that she's a witch a secret because of the society that she's in. She's invited to teach 3 young witches at Nowhere House, and she eventually decides to. So Nowhere House has a lot of people in it, has 3 girls, Jamie, Ken, Lucy, and Ian. Jamie's the love interest, and their trope is Grumpy Egg Sunshine. One of my favourite tropes. I love Grumpy Egg Sunshine. Personally, I like it when the woman's the grumpy. However, yeah, this was still just as good. He was definitely apprehensive for Mika to join at the start, and then by the end he'd very much warmed up to the idea, clearly, if no spoilers, but clearly. The girls were very lovely. That's one thing I would like to say. I always get worried when reading a book that involves siblings, because even if the writer has siblings, which I could be wrong, but that's more than likely that you have siblings, they still write children's siblings as like immature. So to have it so that these girls all had their own personalities, I think that's also something that a lot of writers struggle with when it comes to writing, especially children's siblings. Adult siblings not as much, but with children's siblings you often find they have the same personality, especially if they aren't the main characters. But these girls, there was Terracotta, Rosetta, and I can't remember the other one's name. It began with A, and I can't remember it. It was so lovely to read a book where the girls in it had their own personalities, had their own wants, even at such a young age. I think Ian, Ken and Lucy, because they aren't magical, they're not the love interest, they're not the plot point, because essentially Mika's the main character, Jamie's the love interest, and the girls are the plot point because the plot is about teaching the girls. And because of that, Ian, Ken and Lucy, I think they could have had more time. However, that would have meant extending the book longer than the plot needed. I think even though they didn't have a lot of time, they were very much still involved. They were still very much but they are in the house kind of a thing. Whenever Jamie was out late at night in the garden, and Mika could hear him. In my head I'd always think, even though Ian and Ken live in the barn, they may hear him. Or I wonder what Lucy thinks about this, even though it's not mentioned what Lucy thinks about, you know, Mika and Jamie being in the garden or drinking whiskey in her room. It's very found family because, you know, the girls are adopted and Jamie, Ian, Ken and Lucy aren't the girls' legal guardians. The girls' like parent is Lillian, and the reason that guardian is technically Lillian, who isn't there. She isn't in Nowhere House. She's always busy, and she's kind of left the girls to be raised by the adults in Nowhere House. She doesn't know about Mika. So it's very much found family. They all look out for each other. They all protect each other. It's just my favourite. Anyone that knows me, that if any kind of media, whether it's a film, a book, a TV show, anything, if it has found family in it, I'm either crying or it's my new favourite thing, or both. Jamie and Mika had the grumpy sunshine to the point where Mika was like, I don't know what this dude's problem with me is, but you've got a problem with me. There's not much I can do about that. And they kind of became civil, and Jamie stopped always having something to say about what Mika does. And then they became straight up friends. And there was this really, it wasn't awkward, but it wasn't, look, this is what we are, we like each other, period, where Mika would be like, okay, kiss me then, kiss me. And Jamie would be like, I'm not kissing you here. And he'd make a lot of, not innuendos, a lot of comments that she'd say something and he'd be like, oh no, I'm not f***ing you like this. If we're gonna it's gonna be a better place. They had a lot of banter and chemistry, a lot. It was so authentic and almost alluring. I kept on reading and I was like, oh my god, are they gonna kiss now? The main section for the romance part, 'cause it's not my biggest note actually, but we're gonna pretend it is chapter 26. If you've read this book, then when I remind you of 26, you will know what it means. It's the most romantic chapter of the book. It's the love confession. This book, for those who are wanting to know, has one spicy chapter, one chapter that has it. One. When I was reading this chapter, I'm going to be completely honest, because I wasn't expecting anything, because throughout the whole book, besides those few odd comments, I wasn't expecting anything. So when Mika opened the door and Jamie was there, I was kind of expecting Jamie to say, hi, can I come in? And then the girls to be like, surprise. That didn't happen. And I'm glad it didn't, because they ended up good. Not as in like a rough, passionate, toxic kind of way. The thing that I really liked about this book is that even though Jamie and Mika didn't get along at first, not in an enemies to lovers way, but in the grumpy ex-sunshine way, you have like the reserved way you often see with those type of relationships, when they were, it was playful, and I think that was really refreshing to read. But this really, it was passionate and it was playful, and you could tell that they really thought out this was the time we were going to be together. You know, all the times before we joked about it, but it was never right, and now this is the right time. And I really love that about this book. Magic and mystery is my next section of notes that I've called it that next section. The plot twist. No spoilers, so all I'm going to say is the plot twist. I was up until 3 AM reading it because of this book. I fell into the one more chapter trap, and I'm going to be so real with you. I've not fallen into the one more chapter trap since I was in my Wattpad reading days. This book has 30 chapters. I thought 30, but then I thought that's not right. And Jamie and Mika got together chapter 26, so very much it is a slow burn. But I wish there was like a way that I could find out more about their relationship. I want genuinely just a few more chapters to see how they cope being together at Nowhere House in their relationship. That's what I want. I really also want to watch the girls grow up. I want to be able to read about them growing up. I want to know what happens in Nowhere House, and I just want to see all of it. I want to know everything. I want to watch the women that they become. I want to see if they go off to university. I want to see if they go on to the careers they want, if how they handle their magic, how, you know, who are their friends, who, like, how do like Ian, Ken and Lucy feel about the events of the book, things like that I wish I could have more of. I recommend this book to people that like easy reads and as well cozy reads. Guys, take a shot every time I've said the word cozy or comfy in this video. Romances that people grow into that aren't just a I saw him and there was tension, which, by the way, I have such a bad habit of doing that when I'm writing my books. People that like whimsical magic and of course found family, really all of those things, the things that just make you think I want to cuddle up with my blanket, which I currently have, by the way. When I said grab your blanket, I've already got mine. When I said grab your blanket in the intro, I've got mine. So make sure you've got yours, okay? I didn't say grab your blanket for you to not grab your blanket. It's definitely this read is definitely a read that if you want something to curl up with on a weekend where it's a bit cold and damp and it's rainy and you want to do something with your day but you also don't want to leave the house, read this book. It's that simple. It's not that long of a read. The physical copy of the book is 318 pages. That is not that long. That's not that long. Your average book is about 450, I guess. I'm making a guess here. I'd absolutely recommend this book to anyone that doesn't like romantasy because of how hard and difficult fantasy is to get into. Books like Cruel Prince and Fourth Wing I've struggled to get into, and although they were trending, they've not been trending. Like, they've been out, especially Fourth Wing, they've been out for so long, but if I were to make a TikTok video about those books, I wouldn't get any views. People wouldn't go, I need to read that, because they already have. I feel like the last person on the planet to read it. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you've read this book, please comment your favourite part so we can talk about it together. If you've not read this book, then you need to tell me what your most recent cozy read is so that I can also get these cozy vibes. The cozy vibes are everything to me at the moment. If you love bookish vibes, you love book updates, reviews, just general vlogs, as long as it contains something to do with a book, then make sure you like and subscribe, because I would love to make more content like this. I love sharing my bookish views with you. The social media platforms are in the description below, at Mina Sage Books on TikTok and on Instagram. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.